Hi everyone, my name is Jazmine Siguenza, and today I'll be sharing the part of my short paper that stood out to me the most, which is the representation of the Virgin of Guadalupe in Latin American visual culture. My paper explores how images in Latin America are constantly reimagined and how those reproductions change their meanings over time. The Virgin of Guadalupe is one of the best examples of this transformation. So, the image of the Virgin of Guadalupe has been reproduced millions of times in churches, in homes, on murals, protest art, and even on t shirts. And each version keeps part of the original sacred image, but also changes certain aspects of it to fit new cultural, political, or personal meanings. This constant reinvention um, shows how visual culture is never stagnant, but it adapts to the people who use it. So, in my research, I found that places like Peru's Cusco school, artists painted versions of the Virgin that blended between Catholic and indigenous traditions. And for example, in some Cusco paintings, the Virgin's dress is painted in the shape of a mountain, which symbolizes Pachamama, the Andean Earth Mother. This creative blending of European religious imagery with indigenous icons transformed the Virgin into a symbol that resonated deeply with the Andean community. This part stood out to me the most because it shows how powerful images can evolve and take on new lives. The Virgin of Guadalupe began as a sacred Catholic figure, but over time she became a symbol of resistance, national pride, and identity. She's been reinterpreted in modern art, sometimes as a revolutionary, sometimes as a protector, or even reimagined in controversial ways that challenge tradition. For example, sometimes I've seen the Virgin Mary depicted with guns and bullets wrapped around her to symbolize the nautical culture in Mexico. And I've also seen some indigenous peoples be painted with the traditional head dressing of the native, um, but they'll have guns or they'll have inappropriate dressing on that's not traditional. I've also seen the Virgin Mary be depicted with a skull instead of a face. Um, so those are just some examples of how she's been reinterpreted in modern art. This connects to the broader theme of hybridity that scholars like Daniela Blakemar talk about how art in Latin America emerges through collaboration between different cultural perspectives. For example, in her article, she mentioned indigenous European and Creole culture being blended together through a lot of art in Latin America. And the Virgin of Guadalupe's image embodies that and shows that visual culture is not just about copying the past, but constantly recreating it throughout time. And overall, studying the Virgin of Guadalupe helped me understand how visual culture in Latin America um, is historic, but also a tool that is used for identity of many different um, cultures and families. And each new version of her image tells a story about the time, the place, and the people who reimagined her. And she represents how visual culture can unite people spiritually, politically, and creatively. So that's what stood out to me the most in my short paper. Thank you.